Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Today we're going to finally review the current version of Coromandel, the Eau de Parfum. Now, I have reviewed on my channel the Eau de Toilette of Coromandel many moons ago. And I've also reviewed the first batch ever made of the Coromandel Parfum, also many years ago, as it was released. So you can go check out those reviews. And now, finally, we're kind of coming full circle because Coromandel was one of the first Les Exclusifs fragrances that I purchased from the new released Les Exclusifs fragrances back in 2006/2007. I, of course, had prior to that Bois des Îles, Cuir de Russie, number 22, Gardenia. But Coromandel was one of those first ones that caught my attention. As always is the case, you know, Coromandel is kind of a little bit the bully of the group because it's so overpowering and so intense that it's the one you notice first. And then after you've noticed Coromandel, you go down the line and you notice the other ones as well. You know, that's kind of how it works. Now, so after many years have passed and I went through all the Chanel Exclusifs, you know, Eau de Toilettes, the Extraits, and then the Eau de Parfums. Now it's kind of the turn of Coromandel in Eau de Parfum form. I do have, for comparison purposes here, the Coromandel Parfum as well as Coromandel Eau de Toilette. This batch code is 3302. So this is, oh gosh, 2008, 2009, roundabout. So it's a very close to first batch of the Eau de Toilette. And the Parfum is 3901. Now, these batch codes do repeat every 8 or 9 years. So just because they're both in the 3XXX section doesn't mean that they're from the same year. There's a big chunk of years between them. They just repeat the codes every now and then. So there's that. And now we're going to unbox this beauty. Batch code 8901 right there. This one was made in France. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Gain access to extra perks. Let's open it from the bottom. You can also join me on Patreon. superdacob, all spelled together there as well for extra perks. Thank you to my members and patrons who have already pledged. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. So hi to my co-chatters. I live stream several times a week on my main superdacob channel. Go join me there to partake in the fun where a lot of these videos get filmed. I'm so excited, always excited when I'm unboxing a new Chanel perfume, especially when it's a Les Exclusifs or when it's in general any really extrait for that matter. Now this is not an extrait, this is the Eau de Parfum, but oh my god, this is really glued there like there's no tomorrow. I have to really pull it. Okay. And I do believe that, at least for me, it is very special to be able to film these reviews, to unbox these perfumes that mean so much to me. It's always a very poetic moment for me. So when I film a dedicated Chanel perfume review, the utmost care to detail, I always give the utmost care to detail for any perfume related or any content for that matter that I do, but a perfume review, you know, a Chanel perfume review, it remains there for decades, right? So it's very special to me. So let's see if they packaged this properly. No, it's stuck in there. No, they're okay. It's okay. It's fine. Everything's intact. Sometimes inside there, that little hole is a little bit ripped. But this time it's all well. They positioned it correctly. I leave the plastic foliage always on the boxes. I don't like them getting dirty. That's why this is how I open them. Then I'm just going to slide the plastic foil over this box once I take out the bottle, and then I'm going to store the box away. I don't throw the boxes away. Chanel in the front, 75 ml or 2.5 fluid ounces in the back, Eau de Parfum. And it comes out like that. So, are we ready for this? Excited. Okay. We did 4 sprays. Give it some oxygen. Oh. So Olivier Polge delivered the reformulation or the reconcentration of Coromandel. His dad, Jacques Polge, with Christopher Sheldrake, delivered the first version of Coromandel in around about 2006, 2007. And then in 2016, the eau de toilettes were discontinued. These were gone in favor of the eau de parfums. Now, yes, this is an older juice, so it did get a little bit dark, but I mean, it's considerably darker. Okay. Before I spray my eau de toilette here, and I know this one by heart, I have several bottles of this. I do have the 200 ml bottle of this as well. I just kind of wanted to have them side by side in the same format. That's why I took out my 75 ml eau de toilette. There you go. So before I spray this one on, let me first dig my nose into this one. As I said, I know the eau de toilette so well, and it is so intense that it risks to overpower this one. Interesting how the current version of Coromandel eau de parfum is green in a way. So, you know, if we check out the notes, bitter orange citruses, neroli in the top notes, and then we got patchouli, orris root, jasmine, and rose in the mid notes. Base notes are white chocolate, benzoin, amber, olibanum, incense, woody notes, and musk. And basically the same notes are listed for the eau de toilette, except the eau de toilette has a predominant benzoin and then white chocolate. I don't agree with that, but anyway, we'll get to that later. And the parfum is going to have a burst of labdanum in there as well, which makes it kind of a chypre in a way as well, because there's the patchouli in there, orris root, opens up with the bergamot. So, you know, they describe it as an amber, woody, warm, spicy patchouli, balsamic, citrus, sweet, earthy, blah, blah, blah. We don't care about that. What we care about is the story it tells us. That's what a perfume always does. If a perfume doesn't tell you a story, you don't need it, really, you know. And you can always go places, perfume channels that talk to you about longevity and silage. Fine. So, this is so earthy. And interesting that the current version, like I said, batch code, well, current, now we're almost back to the 0 batch codes. You know, we're, I've already seen 9 something batch codes. So we're close to the zeros again, or the ones. So this one is about a year old or half a year old. And it's very, very soily, earthy, dry. It's like dry soil. Very, very fascinating. Very deep. Very, very deep, but very dry. It's not wet. It's green and rough. Very, very fascinating. Kind of, you know, the incense, woodsy notes with the orris root are what on my skin transpire. It's really hot. I gotta take the sweater off. Y'all, too much cashmere. It is a very fascinating heft. It's so dry, but at the same time, vibrantly alive that it takes your breath away a little bit, you know? It suffocates you. It really has a tendency of taking over. and you have to be very, very careful how you dose it. Now, I've generated with AI, I've prompted the AI to generate the Coromandel, kind of a Coromandel version of Coco Chanel's 31 Rue Cambon apartment with kind of, this kind of Coromandel vibe. And the Coromandel panels were indeed Coco's treasures from faraway lands. These lacquered pieces of wood with these intarsia that are handmade and applied by hand meticulously to create these kind of, tree ornaments or bird, animal ornaments, or rustic scenes of everyday life in the woods or in the countryside, and, and then lacquered by hand meticulously. Very, 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 very high-end quality. And these Coromandel panels, for the few lucky people who do get invited to enter 31 Rue Cambon and Coco's apartments, you get to see them. In particular, the one room, the living room with the famous couch, and you have the Coromandel panels there as well. The Coromandel panels are fundamentally structured in a way that you have this black, substantial, deep wood lacquered, right? And you have those beautiful details, and the more you look into it, the more you kind of fall into it. It's almost like the Stendhal syndrome, really. So they are powerful. Coco Chanel was very clever because the way she, structured her living apartment, she did not spend the last years of her life, she definitely did not spend it 31 Rue Cambon. She was actually very lonely. She was scared of being alone. Nobody to love her, nobody she loved anymore around her. So she spent her last years at the Ritz. Not in a luxurious, rich suite like many people would think. No, she was close to underneath the rooftop, where some time ago during the war, the servants' quarters were also stationed partially. And in a small room that she stayed in even after the war, she never went back to the old room that she had before the war. And before anybody starts talking about Chanel's involvement in the war and all that gossip, spare me. All of those rumors have been debunked. Go check out my video, Top 5 Books to Read on Coco Chanel, where all the facts are shown, documents are scanned, printed, posted in the books, and you can read it all to find it all out. So please don't just be that lemming that kind of just blabbers out whatever you hear somewhere randomly online from some other person who's misinformed, and then you just kind of copy and paste that because you think it's scandalously amazing to keep throwing this person under the bus for no reason. So she was very lonely and did not feel comfortable sleeping alone in 31 Rue Cambon after all of the workers go home, the atelier closes, and she is in this apartment confronted with her ghosts. And she talked about ghosts a lot. She was very scared, very superstitious. So she would sleep at the Ritz. She was also a sleepwalker. Did you know that? Sometimes people would see her walking around the hotel as a ghost, talking in her sleep. She would, on occasion, fall while she was sleepwalking and hurt herself. One of those occasions, she broke a rib. That was towards the end of her life. She fell, broke her rib, and this was one of the reasons why she could not fly to New York to the Radio City Music Hall premiere of the Coco Chanel musical, headlined by Katharine Hepburn as Coco Chanel. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. When I review a Chanel perfume, I let them guide me. They tell me the story. The heft of Coromandel, just be careful to not misunderstand it or to take it for, oh, it's a powerhouse perfume. Let me show off this amazing smell and it's overpowering. And I know a lot of people fall victim to this. You know who you are. And you want that strong smelling perfume and you think, yeah, it's worth it. Bang for your buck, and it's intense and everybody's going to turn heads because it smells so sophisticated. If you want to buy Coromandel to turn heads because you think it's a rich smelling perfume, then you're buying it for all the wrong reasons. Coromandel, let me tell you what Coromandel tells me. The story this perfume tells me, it's haunting. It's a story of these panels witnessing all the most traumatic and sad moments of her life. Also, witnessing the triumphs and the successful meetings with friends. And we've seen photos taken of Coco Chanel with Romy Schneider sitting together on her couch at 31 Rue Cambon, or with Jean Moreau, or with the president's wife of France, mind you. There have been some successful moments there as well, but never at night. At night is when the ghosts come out, and the panels witness it all. The panels see it all. The panels, these wooden panels, these lacquered wooden panels are, in a way, in combination with the smell of this perfume that is dedicated to the Coromandel panels, it is a witness to a very complex drama of the life of this lady. And it's about the night time, when the Coromandel panels come to life, when there's nobody left in the building, and just Coco lurking about before she leaves. Sometimes she left really early. She did not want to be alone there. She wanted to go back to sleep at the Ritz, surrounded by voices and noises of living people at night. She liked that. That comfort, it comforted her. It soothed her. But the Coromandel panels speak of memory of silence, loneliness, isolation. Justine Picardie wrote a biography on Coco Chanel. Coincidentally, that's one of the books that I recommend you read. Justine Picardie was granted by Karl Lagerfeld, when he was still alive, access to 31 Rue Cambon at night. I think she was granted, if my memory serves me correctly, 2 nights, 1 or 2 nights, maybe 3, I want to say 2 nights, to sleep at 31 Rue Cambon. And Justine Picardie really portrays so beautifully that sensation of silence in that building at night when there's nobody there. And then she, of course, while she was writing her biography on Coco Chanel, she wanted to feel that vibe at 31 Rue Cambon with the Coromandel panels in that space, not just the Coromandel panels, but everything in that space, including the Lenormand playing cards, the Cartomancy playing cards that were still and are still to this day in that particular living room of Coco Chanel on her working table. She writes in the biography that she almost felt as if Coco was kind of just passing by fleetingly. Now, Coco was already gone by the time Justine Picardie was collecting information to write the biography on Coco Chanel. But her presence is so strongly there. And I believe one of the reasons why her presence is still so strong there is because of the Coromandel panels. What do Coromandel panels do? These are paravents, actually. So they are meant to be moved folded together, you know, and then opened up, and they separate the room. Their function is to create a slightly safer environment for you, you know, to kind of isolate a part of the room, either because in more intimate spaces you would change your clothes behind a paravent, and then when you were ready, you would kind of come from behind them out again, and then you were ready to continue your day. Sometimes the paravents were just used for, you know, beautiful decoration. You just put them close to your wall so that they kind of decorate the wall without you having to paint the walls. But they function basically as a beautiful facade, you know, a protection wall to deter from what is actually going on behind them. It's like a beautiful illusion, like a beautiful smoke that hides the truth that's behind them. And behind them is Coco, you see. We don't know what she does behind those paravents, but the smell of this perfume, I get goosebumps. It's almost like these paravents are molding, decaying. The lacquer is preserving them from the outside, but from within, they have seen so much, they're carrying so much information, they are in pain. So the smell of Coromandel, to me, is very much envision yourself coming physically really close to the original Coromandels in Coco's apartment at 31 Rue Cambon, smelling them. You know, as two paravents kind of bend, you see the wood in between, and you kind of come close and you smell that wood. She used to smoke in that apartment. We have smoke in that wood, perfume residue in that wood, whispers of people passing by captured in that wood. And that's what this smells of. It's haunting. It's not a beautiful smell. Don't be fooled by Coromandel. The facade is beautiful, you know, these handmade, hand lacquered panels, super expensive from, you know, years long gone, decades, centuries ago. And they're beautiful and they preserve their face beautifully. But when you come really close to them and you start sniffing, there's that pain, there's that memory of everything that happened in that room boiling up. So superficially, you might think, Coromandel, oh yeah, it's an expensive perfume that smells expensive. I'm gonna feel amazing and expensive if I wear it amongst other people and everybody's gonna compliment me. And no, you're buying it for all the wrong reasons. You buy Coromandel, you should buy whatever you want to buy with your own money, but I'm telling you, my recommendation is buy it if you are ready to feel the pain, to smell the ghosts, to feel those vibrations in the room, to have that beautiful facade and surface just crumble, and bit by bit as it warms up to show you what's behind the Coromandel panels, to show you what is lurking underneath the surface. In other words, memory. And just like that, the incense kicks in. And once the perfume has warmed up on your skin long enough and the incense starts fuming, you know you've arrived on the other side of those paravents. And once you're on the other side, you can never unsee what you see. You can never unhear what you just heard. So I'm telling you, be careful. Coromandel is not an easy journey. It's not a pleasant journey. It is a revelatory journey. It reveals a lot. It is a cathartic journey as well. But what you find on the other side, yes, there are happy times, but there's a lot of tears. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of loneliness. This perfume smells of loneliness. It smells of a graveyard that hasn't been visited for centuries. There's moss growing over it, earth taking over the tombstones, the corrosion crumbling off, chunking at whatever names were on those tombstones. You can almost not see anymore who is laying buried there. Just like the memory disappears. Who were the guests? Who was she talking to on a daily basis? What all went down in that room? We have a few photos, we have a few books that testify what happened, photos of her with people in that room, but for the most part, that room remains a mystery. But those panels have seen it all. You smell Coromandel and that mold starts kind of growing on you. You know, you kind of merge and become like one with those panels. Similar, even though maybe a little bit tacky as a comparison, but for anybody who has ever watched Twin Peaks, in season 2, Josie Packard, spoiler alert, merges with the wood of the Great Northern. She becomes one with the trees and the wood and the furniture in the Great Northern Hotel. That's kind of what happens to you when you really let yourself fall into Coromandel. And you keep falling, and it goes deeper and deeper, and then they list this white chocolate, but the benzoin, the amber, the olibanum, the musk, the white notes, all of that together in the current eau de parfum concentration is much stronger than the white chocolate accord. The white chocolate accord is here in the eau de toilette, which we're just gonna do one spritz of this because this thing is a different story. Yeah. So now, give this a minute. You hear the screams, you hear the loneliness, the isolation, the falling down, breaking the hip, breaking a rib, and you kind of almost arrived to January 10th, 1971. You've gone through all that fog and mist and mold, and you're back at the Ritz. January 10th, 1971. But that's the end of the road for Coco. That was her last day on this earth. And you have a slight hint, just a hint of peace. And this perfume delivers that. At a certain point in the dry down, there's a smidge of warmth there and a hint of relief. But just as you sense that hint of relief, a bit of that dryness from the top notes, higher notes, comes back again and takes you back in and says, no. You will never find peace. Coromandel in the eau de toilette form, it ages incredibly. It actually confirms even more my theory of what is hidden behind the panels, because this perfume, as it ages, it acquires historical heft. The older your batch is, and the more it's going to become concentrated, and the more it's going to smell of history. It's almost as if the older the batch coated is, it's going to smell more rancid. It's going to get more moldy. It's not going to physically get moldy. It's going to smell more moldy. And you're going to say, that's disgusting. No, it's not. It's poetry. A different world. Different world. We're not talking about pleasant little perfumelettes you can wear to the office. This is a different story. This is a different realm. This is art, in other words. So, pain and decay are seen as tools to express certain emotions through fragrances if they are art. Otherwise, forget about it. Now, the older this fragrance gets and the more it becomes historic, it's almost as if we're traveling back in time when we sniff on older batches, and it feels like we're going back, like the clock is going like tick, 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 backwards, and you're smelling 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s. You're smelling her history in the older batches. They are, sure, recognizable. We recognize Coromandel in the Eau de Toilette, but it's almost as if the Coromandel in Eau de Toilette form is more a history that the Parfum panels are revealing to us from her earlier years. Like, let's say, the 30s, the 40s. And then the fresher batch of the Coromandel Eau de Parfum is revealing the later years, towards the end of her life. It's drier, it's slower, it's darker, it's more foreboding in a certain way, menacing even. So it's beautiful to have them as a contrast, and it just kind of catapults you front and back and front and back. Very, very fascinating. And then, in the midst of all of that, we have that galbanum, we have that labdanum enriched extrait, which, let me just put a little smidge here. Which, such a playful illusion it creates. The way I envision the extrait, it's almost trying to quickly fix those cracks in the lacquered panels. And it's trying to fill in the cracks and make them look perfect again and pristine again. And it's trying to tell you, hey, give good face, perfection, sublime, smile, poised, never overeat, don't over binge, stand straight. Coco had the posture of a ballerina till her dying day. So the extrait is delivering that attempt at sublimating and perfecting what these other two rascals have been up to. You see, these two have been cracking and showing what's hiding behind the Parfum panels, the Coromandel panels. But the extrait, it kind of pushes to the forefront and is like saying, no, 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 no. We stay poised, no mold, no deep, dry, ashy, incensey pain. We do not reveal that. That is not ladylike. We keep our feelings buried deep down inside and we keep smiling. So there's a special beauty in the extrait because it's so controlled and poised. But because it's so controlled and poised, we know that it's a smile in the surface, but we know that there's something brewing behind. Now we find out what is brewing behind when we jump into the Eau de Parfum. The Eau de Parfum reveals the pain inside, all the rot. And the Eau de Toilette takes us back in time when it all began. When the Coromandel panels were first installed, when she first bought them, when she started, talking about them. She loved them a lot. Like, she really loved her Coromandel panels. So it's a beautiful story that these perfumes tell me. And it is like a history book. Every one of the concentrations is a different chapter. They're beautifully woven in this tapestry of Chanel mythology, of Coco Chanel myth and fiction and reality. Coco herself used to say, I even sometimes get lost in the labyrinth of my own myth. What is the truth, really? All three of these perfumes carry and bear the same name. They're all three authentic. Chanel released all three of them. All three are called Coromandel. And yet, they're different from each other. So which one is Coromandel? All three of them are. So what is the truth? Well, all three of them tell the truth, but it's a different story. How is that possible? Well, I guess truth is not so straightforward as one would think. There is your truth. There is what other people perceive to be the truth about you. And then there are facts. Facts like mathematical facts. Although I had a mathematical teacher who told me, math is a philosophy, really. So 1 + 1 is equal to? Yeah, doesn't have to be. The truth, I think, is always somewhere in between the different stories that are being told. So Coromandel, if you really want to come close to the truth of Coromandel, you need all three stories. You need to hear the story of the Eau de Toilette. You need to hear the story of the Parfum, and you need to hear the story of the Eau de Parfum. And you still won't get to the truth, but you'll get a little bit closer to it because you're going to have three versions already, and you're going to broaden your perspective. You're going to broaden your horizon on what the possibilities are and the options are. Coco, for survival purposes, would change the truth according to who she was talking to. Not because she wanted to trick people, but because the truth was really hard to handle. Imagine being surrounded by snobby, elitist assholes from some aristocratic something, and they want to know all about you. You're the raging star of the fashion world, darling. Where do you come from, darling? Well, I'm an orphan. I come from nothing. My father abandoned me. My mother died when I was literally a child, and I was just thrown into an orphanage and fought like a lion to survive. And here I am designing for you rich bitches. Oh, how gross. So the truth needs to be bent in order to survive. The father had to leave her with her aunts so that he can go and work in America. He was a businessman, a tradesman in America. Oh, how fascinating. Your father in America. So what did you do? Oh, I had lovely aunts. They taught me how to sew and how to create clothes from a very young age. Oh, how fascinating, how mysterious. Who are these aunts? Well, they come from a little village, and then she changes the topic and she doesn't tell you, but the aunts were really the nuns in the orphanage. The Coromandel panels knew that. Painful when you smell your parfum when it starts drying down. And you hear the other version of the story. You smell the convent. You smell the dust. You smell the stone steps that she would go up and down all the time as a little child. Those Coromandel panels are almost like the stones in Outlander that you could travel through time with if you bring the right materials with you. You know, almost like sacrificial materials to allow the stones to open up for you and take you back in time. That's what Coromandel does. These panels, isn't it interesting how this perfume, well, look, it's like 3 Coromandel panels put together to block off what's behind them. And they fold, and they separate, and they come close again. With every new iteration of Coromandel, the perfume, we get another panel added. It creates a bigger and bigger wall that can then deliver to you more and more cracks through which you can sniff your way to the truth. The truth is what you make of it, and you might love it, but it almost could be so strong and powerful and revelatory that you cannot take it. So, if you're that type of person that cannot take it, I do not recommend the eau de parfum because it is raw. If you cannot take it and you wish to live in that idyllic illusion, I recommend the extrait. And if you want to have that illusion of traveling in the past and thinking, you know what, if I could only rewind time once, I would go back and I know exactly what I would do differently. But it's a bittersweet illusion because we cannot travel in time, at least not yet. But at least we have the illusion. So if we technically cannot travel in time, then this perfume is a lie because it offers us the illusion of traveling in time, and yet the perfume exists and it gives us that feeling. The eau de toilette gives us that feeling. So is it a lie after all, or is it just another version of the truth? That's Coromandel. It makes you question everything. And in connection to Coco Chanel's life, of course, it enhances the experience of getting to know this incredibly fascinating historic figure. Those panels that keep opening up tell a story. Every panel is like a script. Every panel has a text. Every panel is a chapter of this novel that we will never get to fully read. Coco is gone. She's not here to defend herself. She's not here to be able to answer questions or talk anymore. That myth that she kept saying she would lose herself inside of, her own truth was her own myth that she would lose herself inside of, well, that's what she left to us for posterity. I, for one, can tell you this personally. It is the most wonderful and bittersweet labyrinth to get lost in. And it's heartbreaking. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this review. If you have, thumb it up, subscribe to my channel, and push the notification bell for more content like this. Let me know which is your favorite concentration of Coromandel. Do you own it at all? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Why do you like it? Why do you not like it? And until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Subscribe. Bye.